Hey up, folks. Darkstorm 2 bad here. It's recently been brought to my attention that it's comedy's job to offend. Well, my memory's been refreshed, I mean. And my initial reaction was, nah, don't be daft, it's comedy's job to entertain. Thing is, my squidge said that nowadays it does seem to be comedy's job to offend, and that got me thinking. Offensive jokes have been around for longer than any of us have. Be they sexist, racist, transphobic, and recently cisphobic can be added to the roster as well. But so have innocuous jokes. Your word puns, your dad jokes, following any comment about a strong gust of wind with not a bit of curry again. There is the question of what is offensive versus what will people try to make offensive. I don't mean changing a joke to include a racial slur to be edgy, though there are people who will do that. I refer to just looking at a joke and finding something about it to deem offensive. Yeah, you're not likely to find many blonde women who enjoy dumb blonde jokes. I mean, some might, like, if you're blonde and you know you're intelligent, but you also know one who is absolutely thick as pig shit, then you might get a kick out of it. But there'll always be people who really want to dampen everyone's fun. Like, someone who was raised without a father might find the reason to call a dad joke offensive. Someone who has had troubles with alcohol might find drunk jokes offensive. Someone from Peter might find why did the chicken cross the road offensive. What do I mean by what's offensive versus what will people try to make offensive? Let me give you a personal example. Fat Girl is depicted as lazy, slobby, always hungry, and won't live past 35. That shit's offensive to me. Fat Girl has features that make her look and sound like a pig, cow, or other very heavy animal. That's dehumanizing. Flushed out of the rest of your shit. Fat Girl chases her pet cat out of the window and ends up getting stuck, having an oh shit moment. That's kind of funny. And if you play the scene right, kind of endearing. Fat Girl gets on a lift and it goes over the weight limit, so they remove the lightest person and then it works fine. That shit's hilarious. I love subversive humour. And don't get me wrong, there are examples of offensive humour that I like. Just look at South Park. There's a saying when it comes to offensive humour. Either all of it's okay, or none of it is. And Parker and Stone definitely go for the former. No one's invalidated, but nobody is safe. An example that leaps to mind is how Mr. Garrison hears about a teacher getting fired for being gay and receiving a huge cash sum as compensation. And he's all, I gotta get me some of that. So he leans further and further into the gay stereotype in attempts to get fired. But since tolerance is a major factor of the episode, he just keeps getting praised for his bravery. Even when he brings a sex slave to his class of elementary school kids. Foul-mouthed, violent elementary school kids, one of whom died in every episode at that point, but still. In the end, he rants about the difference between tolerance and acceptance, stating that you can tolerate things and still be pissed off by them. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. That's innocuous, and it works due to its double meaning. The other side of the road, or the other side as in the afterlife. Why did the pervert cross the road? Because he couldn't get his knob out of the chicken. There's a funny joke that could be classed as offensive. It may piss off a few perverts, or people who can't stand the thought of bestiality, or who just don't like naughty words like the. Why did the. No! I'm not even beginning that joke. Here's where we get into the meat and potatoes of the discussion, folks. It's comedy's job to entertain. Sometimes, in certain situations, that involves offence. But it is never, ever comedy's job to dehumanise. Black people, Asian people, mixed race people, white people, fat people, thin people, tall people, short people, poor people, rich people, people who are specifically 148 centimetres tall, weigh 293 pounds, and look like they carry at least half of that weight in those bra-bursting butterballs. Do you know what the key factor is in these descriptions? I'll give you a hint. It starts with a P. Never mind going to the toilet, that's not what I meant! They're all people. We're all people. We have our own thoughts and feelings, our likes, our dislikes, and we all have basic human rights. Our right to life, our right for our voices to be heard, our right to not be heckled everywhere we go just because of how we look, dress, or sound. I mean, if you know me, then you know that I believe we should be judged based on our actions and opinions. It's not comedy's job to make people feel like none of what I've just listed matters. Sure, maybe poke a bit of fun at black stereotypes, but don't make black people out to be violent, uneducated slaves. Maybe poke a bit of fun at female stereotypes, but don't compare women to some sort of fusion of a sex doll and a washing machine. Maybe poke a bit of fun at gay stereotypes, but don't make the gay community seem like a den of sin where they believe that any man, regardless of sexuality, is fair game for surprise butt sex. I believe that humour based on stereotypes can work. I do. Like, the stuff that really exaggerates things and goes into such absurdity that it's impossible to find it even slightly true. Like with Michaela Crapaudis from GTA Vice City. She's a very angry misandrist who dressed up like a man to try and fit in with men and study the man's world. Yeah, I hate that bitch because she dehumanises men by essentially classing them as a different species, but among her many criticisms of men, one of them was that they wear hats. That shit had me roaring! Now, there are a lot of women out there who claim to be feminists, even though they're not following the definition closely at all, who would take offence to that. But Michaela's a parody, a caricature. If any of you watching this just so happen to be angry, man-hating women, do you really care if we wear hats? Or look at Fat by Weird Al. The song is sung from the point of view of a fat guy. But not just any fat guy. This is the fat guy. This guy causes earthquakes just by walking. Yet, he only cracks the pavement when he falls down. He blocks everyone else's light at the beach so only he gets a tan, and is only one pie away from needing his own zip code, and yet only takes up 7 rows in a movie theatre. Nobody on earth is that fat. I don't think it's even possible to get that fat. Picture the fattest person you know. They likely don't even take up 2 rows at the movie theatre, never mind 7. This is why the song works for me. It unapologetically dives so deep into the stereotype that the song reaches absurdity. An absurd ditty, if you will. See, this personally is the kind of humour I like. I like the silly, the subversive, the absurd, stuff that turns my expectations upside down. Just don't come at me with jokes that are going to make me question my worth. Or your morals. If you just don't like the jokes in particular, then there's no need to complain. Just move on. If you find a particular comedian too offensive for your tastes, don't complain and try and get them censored or cancelled. Just don't watch them. For example, I do like Chris Rock, but he drops a few too many N-bombs for my liking. If the comedy is dehumanising to people, then that needs to stop. Comedy isn't supposed to make people feel like shite. It's meant to do the polar opposite. Nah. That pretty much does it for this video, I think. I've been Docs Not Too Bad, and as always on this channel, if you're a brony, bro hoof, if you're not, bro fist, and until next time, I know I'm just a silly little man doing silly little things. But if I can make just one person laugh and smile with my antics and forget how shit the world is for a while, then it's time well spent. Hey up folks, reckon the stuff I put out's alright? Consider checking out my other links. Apparently, the more views and tips I get, the more cake Lisa gets, so be sure to like, comment, subscribe and all the rest of it. It's all good, Vanos. In a bit.